Hey everyone, my name is Ebony Omalara. I run Ebony Omalara Enterprises, and today I am going to be teaching you how to echo your essence online using social story selling, which is our online visibility framework. A little bit about me. So, I started my first company in 2019, and it was a waist bead company, empowering women to feel more confident in themselves and in their appearance. I studied quantity surveying and commercial management at university, which gave me project management skills. And while I was studying, I also delivered community projects through volunteering, including a short film project, events, youth conferences, workshops, etc. In terms of how we got from Cultured Waste to Ebony Omalara Enterprises, I had started making content about body positivity and confidence at the start of 2020. And that year, I experienced, I think, the fastest growth I've ever experienced online. In terms of the growth of my Instagram page, we grew to like 2,000 followers. My YouTube channel had grown to like 2,000 subscribers. And I'd experienced like bursts of sales. For example, Black Pound Day in 2020, I think the Shade Borough posted my brand and we made like 500 sales in 2 days. So it was quite good. But by the end of that year, I quit my business permanently and I was sure I wasn't going to do it again. So I deleted my Instagram, my YouTube, and my website. I just didn't deregister. And it was really because, and I didn't know at the time, but when I look back, I was too nervous to tell the truth about where I'd come from in business. And obviously, I'm speaking about confidence. And I was getting to the point in my own journey where confidence wasn't just about what I looked like, it was about how I felt about myself. And so I kind of ran away from it, which is how um, social story selling was actually born, because I felt like I deserved to tell my story and it deserved to be heard because there was value in it. But my interest for marketing actually developed as I was volunteering, because I'm producing these films and I'm working on these projects. And every time we have to create a flyer or we have to create a promo video, I'm like, let me do it because I understand the entire scope of the project and how to communicate its value and how to get people to realize this is what they need to come to. Not even like how to make them feel like they want to come, but literally seeing a need within them and letting them know that, hey, I want to fulfill this need for you. I'm not quite sure if you're aware that you have it. And that's kind of the approach to marketing, which requires me to be confident in telling my story, because I could only perceive that lack or perceive that unfulfilled need because I had it. So I had to be open and vulnerable with myself. And in 2024, I changed the company from Cultured Waste to Ebony Omalara Enterprises. And we started primarily focusing on online visibility, although we still do run Cultured Waste unapologetically Ebony and not impersonal under the entire company. So, why is online visibility crucial? I believe that giving everyone their own platform gives power to the people, because for a really long time, media was controlled by certain businesses, organizations. Like, they were the only ones who could put media out. And so we was always at risk of propaganda. But over time, I noticed that people had the permission to tell their own stories or to say their side and version of things, especially where in the past, storytelling has been manipulated to invoke certain feelings or to present certain people in certain ways, and other people never were really given the voice to speak. There's an African proverb that says that the hunter always tells the tale until the lion learns to write. And so social media was giving the lion a pen, literally. And in my own personal experience with it, the reason why I started making content in the first place is because I didn't feel confident saying what I wanted to say to anybody. I'd say it to myself, but I wanted to put it out there. I wanted to have these conversations. And it was creating a safe space for myself where I decide the rules here. No one has to tell me who to be or how to be or what to be. And I think that was really what it was for me, in terms of giving myself the permission to explore, what does Ebony want? How does Ebony want to be? How does she want to present herself? Or how, all of those questions. On the other side of it, because that's very like individual, on the other side of it, I feel like it's created this unity of the tribe. And I mean that overall, even though there's different tribes existing within the overall collective of humanity. And so, whether you're a personal brand, a community group, or trading business, you can benefit from being visible online in three ways. One is that it gives you the opportunity to establish your brand promise. So if I have promised you that all the content or everything you experience through my brand is going to inspire you, is going to empower you, and is going to educate you, then when I'm doing my content, I get to show up and continue to deliver on that promise. And so it builds up your brand overall. The second way is that you get to engage people in your cause. And so by being able to ask people questions, get their feedback, or even like through them engaging in the comments and stuff, you get a real perspective of, oh, this is how it impacts people. This is how people receive my idea, or this is how people view the concept in which I'm researching or in which I'm trying to develop with my product or service. And then the third way, which kind of ties them all into one, is that the fact that you create deeper relationships through giving that understanding. So, where before we didn't really understand the behind the scenes behind companies or behind influencers or celebrities, and there was a disconnect, and there was a you're over there and we're over here. But through you being able to authentically share, you can then bridge that gap. Sorry, is what I wanted to say. You can bridge that gap through understanding, through providing different perspectives, whether it's in a short video and you're just answering a question to clear something up, or whether it's in a long form video and you're actually telling an entire story to give people the depth and the ability to choose to resonate with your story. So I've put a quote down below that a lot of people probably have heard, but maybe not in this context, where if you want to go fast, then go alone. But if you want to go far, then go together. And it's an African proverb. And oftentimes we only think of that in terms of having a team and the people who work with us. But when we have online platforms, we have the potential of having an online community because they follow our pages and things like that. And going together, there's a wealth of information that that community can provide to you, whether it be through they have expertise in certain areas or they have experiences in certain areas, or the fact that they're willing to ask you questions so you can go further into what it is that you're doing. So, in terms of the actual framework that we're going to be learning today, it is called social story selling, and it breaks into three elements: social media marketing, creative storytelling, and online selling. And when you actually think about it, it's your production, your marketing, and your sales. Two of them are kind of marketing principles, but I align social media marketing with your production because it's what you're producing, how you then, not how you tell it, because that's the storytelling element. I guess it's how you present it. But again, we'll go into it together. So the questions I want you to start to think about is, where can people access you online and learn about you? What do you want people to know about you? And where is the value in your story? And then how do your products and services deliver your promised value? And kind of, no, that was it. How do your products and services deliver your promised value? And so I've shared another quote here that we've probably heard before. And it said that I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And sometimes we can dress up the experience a lot and forget about the fact that it is about feeling. That's where the transformation takes place. That's the inner workings of connecting with someone and creating long lasting relationships, whether it be repeat purchases or recommendations or any of those things. It's about the impact that you have on them. So, we are going to go into each element of social story selling. But before we do that, I would like to demystify some of the things that I hear a lot when I speak to people about marketing. The first thing is that you don't need to be on every platform. There are the major platforms, there are some smaller platforms, and there's everything in between. There's new platforms being created every single day, every single week. And so I don't want you to overwhelm yourself in thinking that you need to keep up with the Joneses. The second thing is that you don't need to understand the algorithm on each platform. The algorithm is something that is always changing. It changes based on the creatives. And so you have to realize that you are a creative, and so you have the power to change the algorithm based on the consistent strategy that you create yourself. And then the final one is that you don't need a huge marketing budget. Honestly, because social story selling is based on what you're already authentically doing, there isn't much that you need to add on. And even if you do, it's about being more creative with what you have or what you have access to. And that could be AI softwares, that could be just your phone camera, that could be your laptop camera, it could be any of those things. As opposed to having to invest a lot of resources that maybe you don't currently have yet, and so you keep on saying not yet, not yet, or that could be invested in another area of your business because you can still deliver a solid, creative, consistent, and clear marketing plan online without increasing your budget. So, we are going to go into the first element of social story selling, which is social media marketing. And this is all about finding the right platform for you. So, the first thing that I want you to consider is, what are you willing to share online? And I've put some examples there. And these examples align with 5 elements of business. And they align with the briefing element, the production, the marketing, the sales, and the budget or finance. And so, different things in which you can share in alignment with those is the why behind your business, the products and services that you provide, behind the scenes in day to day life, or the production process, or whatever it is that you want to share, testimonials from people who have experienced your products or services. And then, in terms of the budget element, rather than sharing the exact numbers, maybe you'll share your business journey and growth, or how it's going, or percentage growth, or things like that. But again, it's all up to you, and you get to decide what elements you want to be open about. For example, for a company that does more, let's say you're a therapist, you might not choose to go with direct testimonials because people might not want to speak about the work that they're doing with you. But you might go into, oh, no. I'll use the same example of a therapist. But instead of saying no to testimonials, it might be that you say no to behind the scenes because people don't want you filming during their sessions, but they don't mind after the session, once they've wiped their tears and stuff, to say, well, I really enjoyed today's session. It was powerful because we worked through this, this, and this. And so again, it's completely up to you and based on what your company does and also what your company values are and what value it is that you want to share. Because you can be online and get to the point where you're just sharing for the sake of sharing everything and there's no purpose behind it. So you want to know why you're sharing as well. The next thing is about what format you would like to share it in. And so I've given a couple of examples. We've got written, graphic design, animations, pictures, videos, getting on camera and speaking. And you're not limited to any of these. But I really want you to think about what you're comfortable with. Something a lot of people say to me is, oh, I'm not comfortable talking on camera. And I'm like, that's okay. You don't have to. Like, even if you want to get there eventually, you can start by taking pictures and putting text on them. Then you can start taking videos and doing voiceovers. Then you can get on camera and be like, okay, I'm actually going to speak directly to the camera now. So it's all about what you're comfortable with and also how you feel like what you're sharing can be best presented. So aligning those two. And once you've decided what you're sharing and how you're sharing it, then you can find the right platform to say, oh, this is what aligns with what I want to present. And I've given some examples based on the platforms that I use. So I use YouTube for more long form educational content. I use LinkedIn for more professional networking type of content or behind the scenes and entrepreneurship. I use TikTok for more short form and creative clips. And then I use Instagram for more personalized content that maybe I want us to have a discussion about and engage in. And so those are just, again, some of the major platforms, but there are so many. And the reason why I would say to decide what you want to do first before you find the software is because it's very easy to choose a platform, decide what you're going to do, and then something on that platform changes and you have to change everything that you're doing, as opposed to we're already doing this and this is just how we do it on there. If something changes on the software, how can we take what we're already doing in and move it in alignment with that change, as opposed to the other way around, which can be a bit hectic. The next element of social story selling is creative storytelling. And so we want to look at the fundamentals of telling your story. And I've separated this into two elements. One is about figuring out the purpose of why you're telling your story. And this isn't going to be the same all the time. So each time you do it, I want you to think about it. And another thing that you can do is when people are telling you a story or when you're consuming content, can you figure out the purpose of why this person is sharing? Because that will help you connect with even understanding their funnels or deeper understanding yours. And then on the other side of it, we've got some crucial points for telling your stories, which I'm going to go through. So the 4 examples of the purpose behind telling your story that I've given are to share, which could be sharing a vulnerable truth or an announcement that something's coming up or that something's going to be launched or that you're going to be in a certain place or anything like that. And the idea behind that is just, I want you to be engaged in this with me. The next thing is that it could be to teach. So this is where you'll have your tutorials, your how-to videos, or even sometimes it could be if you're sharing the wisdom of a story in terms of what you learn. It's not always the practical learning. Sometimes it's the learning from the experience that we share and that provides value and even develops our ideas and our business journeys and our growth. So being able to connect with people on that creates a deeper understanding of you and why you do what you do. Another example of a purpose is to celebrate. And so I've put, for example, a milestone. And it could be that you've just hit a number of sales, or that you're celebrating an anniversary, or that an event that you was planning and sharing with them, or even if you wasn't, an event that you've done has gone extremely well, just celebrating anything. And the final one is to learn. And so even though sometimes we come on to teach and we want to demonstrate our expertise, we also want to demonstrate our willingness to learn and to listen to the people that we're here to service by asking them questions, by getting them to share their stories, by giving them opportunities to feedback. And so those are just a few of the purposes behind telling your story. There are many more, but these are the main ones that I find myself using in business when I'm online. In terms of the other side, I used ChatGPT and I asked, what are the fundamentals of storytelling? And I only asked for the sake of, like, I guess, communicating it, because I write stories, but I couldn't really understand what it was I was doing. So I'm going to share with you. I didn't take everything from there. I took the bits of my experience as a storyteller and some of the practical things that ChatGPT suggested to create these 7 points and share them with you. So the first thing I want you to consider is, who is your story about? Oftentimes or not, it's going to be about you, but how are you profiling yourself? And so when I'm writing scripts, something that my friend Lily taught me is to do a character profile, but to do it in so much depth that we understand the internal workings and the external workings of the character. And so we'll put down things like, they was raised in a single parent household with this many siblings, and they're academically smart, but they don't really like to show it because they don't really want people to know that about them, because people feel intimidated or did it, like giving full context. And then on the other side of it, in terms of the internal, what's their attachment style like, what are their love languages and things like that, just so that we can really understand who we're hearing about. And the truth is, most times or not, we're not going to have enough time to go into that level of depth. But you having that understanding of knowledge will change how you tell the story and how descriptive you are, and the feeling that you create around it, because you're really able to create that context. The second thing I want you to consider is the structure of your story and the order that you tell it in. A lot of people, I want to emphasize that I do want you to go in chronological order. I want it to make sense from beginning to middle to end. So we're not like starting at the end or where we are now in this presentation. We're going back to the beginning, then we're going to the middle, then we're going back to the beginning. Like, but I also want to make it clear that when you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, you don't have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can go 1, 4, 7, 10, and it will depend on the purpose of why you're telling your story. So you know which elements of your story are valid for that purpose or for why you're speaking now, or that really portray the value it is that you want to deliver. The third thing is about character development. So once you've kind of profiled yourself and you have this deep understanding of you, do you know how to build your character up as you're telling the story? Do you know the moments that made you shift, or the moments that sometimes when someone's telling a story, you can tell what the character's going to do next based on the profile that they've created. And so that's the character development of, are they following on where your strengths are? Have they been able to pick up on that? Well, when she went through this thing, she was so resilient and open about it. I'm sure when she hit this challenge, she was the same way in it, and giving them the ability to follow on and connect in that sense, and even build an understanding of who you are through it. And that links into the next point, which is about demonstrating the transformation. Sometimes when people tell their story, they don't say what the transformation actually was. They may focus on the new way in which they're seeing things, or they'll focus on the old way in which they're seeing things. But being able to describe the difference between the two and why that shift had to occur in order to deliver what it is that you was looking for is what is going to hook people in. And then that links into the next thing as well, about who are you speaking to. So when you're demonstrating that transformation, it's going to depend on your audience, because how did they relate to this? Where are they right now that I can speak to them and be like, hey, I've been in that space before, and so this is how I kind of rode through it. This is how I rode through the waves. This is what it looked like, because we all kind of go through the same thing, but it's different. So if we do it based on a diagram, I've got like this wave in my head. This is what the peak looked like for me, and this is what the low point looks like for me. They can then substitute themselves in of, oh, this is what the peak feels like for me, and this is what the low point feels like for me. And so how did you navigate between those 2 points and get back to the peak again, or even learn how to manage within the middle of those 2 points? That's where they will connect with you, and that's where the value is. And that requires you to share your emotional truth. And sometimes when we share, especially in business, we're like, oh no, we can't put the emotions in this at all, as if it isn't valid. But it's actually the base and foundation of why we made the choice that we made, or why we move in the way that we do, or why we're so passionate about what we're doing. And so I really want you to tap into, how did this make me feel? And when I'm telling this story, what potential feelings does it have to invoke in other people? So I'm aware of that. So I know I'm not going to leave. There was this feeling of hopelessness in the story, and I'm not going to leave that unended. I'm not going to leave them feeling hopeless. I'm going to communicate to them, like, I was able to find hope. I was able to trust that mustard seed of faith within myself. And then the final thing is about universal patterns. And I feel like this one is about understanding the wider concept and wider context of what you're doing, why you're doing it, and the impact that is having. And so in this, we want to understand what is the norm, what is the usual rhetoric, or what is the thing that we're more inclined to do that just wasn't working for me, and how have I decided to incorporate that, or how have I decided to break the mold, and being able to relate to those universal patterns and understand how everyone else relates to them as well, and and where your uniqueness is kind of coming from. And I feel like it's very, I feel like this is the part where you may experience fear, because it's where we start to recognize, whoa, I'm actually really different, or I actually see this really differently to how the majority sees it, or I actually have a differing opinion. And so being able to deliver that confidently without telling the other people, hey, I'm right and you're wrong. It's just about being able to say, this is how I feel about this and why I feel so strongly. So that's the elements of storytelling. The final element of social storytelling is online selling. And so the question here says, how does social media fit into your sales funnel? And so it may play different roles for you at different stages. For example, if you're on YouTube and you have a paid community, that would most likely be in the second part or the third part of your sales funnel if we're looking at it from a 3 scale. But usually social media content is found in the awareness element. So it's the first way in which people come into contact with you. And so we want to figure out, how can you turn a social media impression or review into a paying customer or a client? And there's really 3 things that I want you to focus on that you can really utilize and maximize to create conversions. The first one is about the platform that you're on. Is it clear what you're selling or what you're presenting when they arrive on your page? That means looking at your DP, that means looking at your name, your handle, looking at your bio, looking at your highlights or any pin posts or any introduction videos. Like, what does your page say about you as soon as they go on there? That is going to be very important so that they know, or at least have an idea of, what industry or what realm am I in right now? Am I in the coaching realm? Am I in the hair business? Am I in, well, is it beauty? Is it education? What is this platform about? And what is it rooted in? The next thing you want to do is think about your content. Does your content show the context for your product or your service? And that could be through you telling your story. I'm telling my story, and now you can understand why I created my product or service, or why I deliver it in the way that I do. Or we are doing this skit and it's hilarious, but it shows maybe how people usually use this thing, or how people may take it for granted, or things like that. How there's so many ways in which you can be creative with it, but your content is all about providing context. And it may be a thing where someone sees one video around your product or service, or even around the concept that your product or service is based on, and they resonate with it, or it hooks them in, or it's intrigued them, and now they go in your page to find out more about it. And then they find out, okay, well, they sell this or they do this service, and it's about leading them through that discovery space. And the final thing is your captions. And your captions could be on the content itself, or it could be underneath. Again, it depends on the platform. I'm generally talking about Instagram and Reels and that. So you'll have the content and then you'll have the caption. But if it is something like a blog post, you may have the main body of your text and then like something at the bottom, just to move them through that funnel, give them wider context and understanding. And so you want to ask yourself, what call to actions can you add which will move them through your sales funnel? They might find your piece of content on Instagram. Let's say, for example, I do a post about social story selling, and I say, and I'm talking in it about the fact that I was so scared of telling my story because I was really worried about people judging me and not wanting to work with me and not wanting to buy from me. And then in the bio of that, I can say, if you are interested in hearing more about my story or even learning about marketing, then sign up to the Social Story newsletter that moves them through the sales funnel to the next stage of where I want them to be, where no, they're not paying me for anything. They're not directly working with me, but now I can feed you some more information in more depth so that you can get to know me and the work that I do. There are a range of call to actions. I would definitely suggest like doing a Google search or even ChatGPT of, I've created this piece of content to promote my book or to promote my event. What call to action can I add to encourage people to buy tickets or to do this or to do that? So you want to think about the next stage of the content for them as you're creating the content. That is social story selling for you in a nutshell. I hope that this framework helps you to, even if it's not to create your clear plan, just to think about how your production, marketing, and sales systems and processes can be funneled into like just authentic content and be the basis of you starting a conversation with your next customer or with your next client, or even creating a community based off of either the product or services themselves or the concept of it, because it just could be that you've found a niche spot where no one really speaks about. For example, with waist beads, no one uses waist beads to do their inner work of healing and insecurity. It was just a piece of body jewelry. And so me doing that, I'm able to create space for the people who are really careful about their ego and how they feel about themselves and more intentional with it. Whereas the wider market for waist beads, there's loads of people who use them. And so I want to share with you the offer that I'm presenting today. And it is for social story selling consultations. So I do 2-hour strategy calls. We'll do a 20-minute discovery first, where we'll speak about who you are and what it is that you want to market. And again, I work with personal brands, I work with community causes. So you can be a CIC, a charity, or anything of that nature, or you can just be a trading company. But the focus is on having a purpose of why you do what you want to do without sacrificing the profit element and being able to connect those two things together. The strategy calls can be based on your business and marketing strategy, which will funnel in again your production, marketing, and sales. It can be based on your social media strategy, where we'll figure out which platform is best for you and create a consistent plan that is clear in terms of what you're marketing and also creative, so you get to enjoy it and it's not just the same mundane. You get to create your unique selling point online. Or it could be in project management. So you might want to do a book, you might want to do an event, you might want to do a focus group, anything of that nature. We will help you to put together the elements and understand how it helps you to create your short-term goals, your specific goals for this project, and also your long-term goals for your business. And so these 2-hour consultations are usually £250, but until the end of the summit, they are going to be £120. So feel free to get in touch with me and book one. Again, we can do your discovery call and then we can book the actual strategy call at a later date if that is better for you. And you can also recommend this to other people, which will give you a discount on our services, which around the social story selling consultation, we have like the lower ticket offer, where we can do content creation for you. We do graphic design, we do user generated content if you need me to try it out and actually show people the different elements of your product. We do videos, we do lives, we do all sorts. And so you can sponsor our platforms, or we can just create content that you're going to use on your own platform. We also do things like media packs, pitch decks, anything in the realms of online creativity and marketing. We are your people. So yeah, that is on the lower side. And then on the higher side, obviously we have one-time consultations, and you can come you can come and ask questions after and ask for support and things like that. But we also have coaching packages where we give you ongoing support. We do strategy calls at first to help you pull all the elements of what you want to do together and put it into one plan. We will send you weekly content prompts to help you stay on top of your content and diversify it. And we'll also do monthly strategy calls where we'll look at your engagement analytics and what's happening and look at, okay, what can we do with what's happening now? For example, someone asked a question about this. We're going to do a campaign about this because people don't know about the history of waist beads or things like that. I'm always giving examples based on what I do for myself, but it's just so that you can put it into context. And then on the higher packages, we also offer some social media management services as well. So the final thing I want to leave you guys with, and I have 5 minutes, is that we are currently doing a challenge and it's called Halloween Horrors and it's on LinkedIn. And so we want to know, what has been your worst experience in business so far? Like just that horrible period of time or the horrible lesson that you had to learn. It could be with someone, it could be with the software, it could be something that you didn't know that you had to learn. And when you figured it out, it horrified you. For example, I didn't know that you don't need to register for VAT until you're meeting a certain threshold, but I registered anyway. And then one day I just got a letter saying I owe like 6 figures, and I was like, so yeah. And we want to know what was scary about it and what did you learn. So I put our LinkedIn there. It's Ebony Omalara Enterprises. We will probably create a base post so you can comment your stories under, or if you want to go ahead and go into more detail, you can create your own post and then tag us, and you can find our LinkedIn or our other social media platforms and even our brands and the work we do through the QR code on screen. So make sure you scan it and use our hashtag EOE online. Thank you very much for your time today. I hope that you enjoyed this presentation. I hope that it has helped you to look at social media social media marketing, or even just being online differently in terms of who you are sets the precedent. Don't let online tell you who to be or how to work or because again, there's a million and one frameworks and blueprints and advice or strategies, but you have to tailor it for what works for you, as with anything. And so if I leave you with one jewel, and I shared this in my podcast episode with Natalia as well, is decide what your brand values are. Because that means even if your company goes from selling hair to selling fridges, the value that you provide is the same because it's based on what you filter your choices through. And so the choices, the values that I filter everything through are authenticity and being true to myself. They are transparency and making sure that there's a clear understanding between me and whoever I'm working with or whoever I'm speaking to. So there's no, oh, I didn't know this, or I wasn't aware. Just really an agreement thing and no manipulation. And then the final thing is about impact and understanding that people don't have to like me, people don't have to agree with me, but I'm always going to be mindful of how I impact another person, because I don't want to be the one to put you down. And so me being myself doesn't mean that you can't be yourself. It's actually giving us all permission to exist. And that is the beauty of social media, where a lot of people didn't know that, or they may have felt weird about certain elements of themselves or certain ideas that they had, and they didn't know other people exist in that same space or feel the same way about it until they spoke up. And so I would encourage you to start being visible online today, even if it's just a reflection from this where you're like, I didn't realize I was trying to fit the mold being online, as opposed to being myself and bringing my unique value to you, or just being honest about, this is why I started doing what I was doing, and realizing that that is going to connect you with people more easily and create deeper, meaningful relationships, as opposed to anything on the surface. So again, I have been Ebony Omalara. Thank you so much for your time today, and thank you to Women in Digital Business for the opportunity to be a part of this summit. I hope to connect with you guys. Make sure you find my LinkedIn and connect with me. And yeah, see you soon.